Hello bearded bee people, welcome back to the Bee and Cave Bees channel. Today is another random inspection Friday, or random Friday inspection. I really honestly have not figured out which one it should be, and I think I've called it both a bunch of different times. But either way, we're going to get into this hive right here. It's a single deep. It's late July, so I'd love to see that they're not just covering these frames, but they've filled them out and are totally ready for another box. Not that I don't think young and small colonies overwinter well, because I do, but I'd love to build up some resources so that I can spread them around the yard. More bees equals more honey, and more honey equals less sugar I have to feed. Speaking of honey, that's a bunch of bee bread, the bright red stuff, and nectar. Some of it's being capped up by my left hand, up on the top row. So that looks good. It's pretty heavy. It's only one-sided. Little patch of brood mixed with a lot of bee bread. Mostly bee bread there. Wow, they're really getting into some red and orange flowers, which is neat. Man, all these frames are heavy. Once again, a little patch of brood around a bunch of food. Apparently I should have been in here a while ago. Mostly brood. There's the queen. These bees are getting a little agitated. Alright, to be honest, I know they're going to need another box, so I'm going to go run and grab one. Now I'm going to go through the rest of this, pull out a couple of the center brood frames that I'm going to place in the other box and replace with the frames from that empty box. So let's continue. Good looking brood frame on both sides. I'm going to set this one aside because that'll go in the upper box. And then I'd like to get one of open brood as well. Brood surrounded by nectar, surrounded by more brood. Once again, brood and food interspersed throughout. Well, I could have gotten into this box earlier. That probably would have been better management practice, but I'm glad I'm getting into it now because these ladies would have wanted to take off very soon. Swarm, that is, not abscond. Everything's filled with either brood or food. I haven't seen any queen cells, so that's good. Oh, come on. Working this hive at an odd angle. Brood and nectar. Brood and young brood. Okay, so this has some open brood on it. I'm gonna set it aside. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab 2 frames from this other box. Maybe more like 3 if these are filled with nothing but food. No. Alright, so, okay. Said no because they're laying some eggs and they're still working on this frame and this frame. So I'm not going to bring them up. I'm going to move this so it's food, brood, brood, empty. Okay, I need both hands. Brood, empty. Brood, brood and food. Alright, wait, I need another one. Oh, I've got this one right here. Food. Food. Okay. And now, put the other box on. Take out a couple. Put a completely drawn but empty one in the center, flanked by the brood frames from the bottom box. Alright, that's how I usually add boxes. If the boxes below are like jam-packed with bees, but not full with drawn combs, then sometimes I'll just add another box and they'll continue to draw everything out. But usually when I have boxes with drawn frames aside and the box below is jam-packed and all of the frames are filled with stuff, then I usually try to bring up a couple of those filled frames. Usually I try to make it open and capped brood, kind of force the nurse bees up there to continue working on the brood, and that kind of just makes more activity up in the top box, and usually they spread out into it a little bit quicker than just adding it on the top without changing out the frames. So that's how I do it. Tune in next week for another random inspection Friday, random Friday inspection, whatever we're going to call it. Thanks for watching. Get out there and have some fun with your bees.